You're muted, Tina. Or Kareem, whoever's going.
Good morning, everybody. Like Crystal said, I'm Kareem. I'm with the compensation team, primarily associated with the HSC campus. However, how compensation works is that we all are able to fill in with whichever of the campuses or the business unit. So even though we're focused, we're more centralized. With me is Vanessa Rosas. She is the compensation analyst for the Dallas campus, and also Tina Robinson, HR business partner with the Dallas campus benefits focus. And you should all know Dr. Crystal. And no, Crystal, I'm not going to try to pronounce your last name. I will not butcher it. So do you think we should wait on anyone else, or should we just get started?
I think we are okay to get started. I've gotten some emails from some friends and they won't be able to attend today.
Okay. So really small group. So we're gonna get intimate today. All right. So moving along.
I spoke too soon, Kareem. We just had someone join us.
No worries. So, like Crystal said, what we're doing today, we're going through compensation and benefits. And I must say that with the caveat that if we were to go through the entire compensation and benefits portfolio or everything that we both do, we would be here for the entire day and probably through the weekend. So this is really a high level overview of what total rewards or comp and benefits deals with. Please know that if at any time you have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself, ask, or you can put your questions in the chat. Vanessa will, from a comp perspective, Vanessa will be able to answer any of your questions, or if not, we can wait until the end and then we can handle them there. And again, just know that if any of this seems like it's a little bit much, just know that we're always here to help you and to answer any of the questions that you have. And again, my name is Kareem, and I'm with the compensation team focused on the HSC campus. However, I do assist with all the other campuses as well. With me is Tina Robinson, HR business partner for Dallas, and Vanessa Rosas, which is compensation analyst for Dallas. So, key topics today. We're going to go through the value of compensation in establishing UNT. And I say UNT as in the enterprise, not looking at just any one campus, because we're all young as an employer of choice. Learning effective ways to talk to your team about pay, and gain insights into benefits and how to use them to retain and attract talent. You have to note anything that we speak about today can be found online on the compensation webpage. Anything related to pay plans, staff guidelines, the compensation philosophy, which is what is used to guide us in how we administer compensation throughout UNT system, total rewards information, reclass information, all that is found on the website. And we, through the years, through our different presidents and the chancellor, we've tried to make sure that we have everything in one place, that even if you're not able to get in touch with an individual, you can always go to the website and find any information that you need. But if anything is a bit too much for you and you need to speak with someone, please feel free to reach out. And I have to put a little plug here as for an additional resource that you may or may not have been introduced to within your other sessions, and that's the manager toolkit. Now this, as it says at the top, it's a one-stop shop. Every and anything a manager supervisor needs to know about being a people leader can be found within that manager toolkit. It's a living document, meaning that it is forever evolving as we find additional information to add to it that will be updated And there's a section at the bottom of the webpage asking for feedback and insights as to what.
Kareem, I'm so sorry, but I got a comment that said you sound a little muffled.
Give me 1 second.
Okay, so sorry.
Let me, I'm gonna mute and double check on my.
Okay. Sorry, you guys. Hold on 1 second.
My apologies. I realized what happened.
Oh, that's
I was
good.
hearing through the headset, but it was using the computer mic and not the headset mic. So thank you very much for that.
I'm glad someone said something because I thought it was just me. I'm sitting over here trying to adjust mine. Like, is it just me? No one's saying anything.
I'm like, I'm at max volume, so I'm not sure till I got the chat, but thank you, Kareem.
No, thank you. Thank you. Wouldn't want to get to the end and then I hear on the feedback that, oh no, that Kareem, I couldn't hear a word he was saying. So thank you for that. Is there anything that you didn't hear that you'd like me to go over? So you heard it, just that you had to strain your ears to hear it. Okay, good.
And hey, Kareem, I put it in the chat that if they had questions, that they can drop them in the chat. But also, I know you're okay with them unmuting as well.
Yes,
So
most
we want
definitely.
this to be engaging, so please feel free to pop in as you have questions.
Right, and especially because we don't have 50 people here, so we can just talk. So if you have a question, feel free, raise your hand, unmute, stop me, and we can talk. So jumping right in. Another plug for you is our total rewards statement. There is a link in EIS. There's a tile for total rewards. This is something that we've been administering now for the past two years or so. Previously, you'd have to wait until the end of the year and you get a letter in the mail telling you what your total rewards are. But we've put this in one place where everyone has access to it at all times within the system. And what it does, it gives you an overview of both your cash and non-cash benefits. And this is always when you get to realize, oh, my salary might be X, but in total, my package is worth a whole lot more than that. It's a very good thing to point out good thing to know for yourself, and as well point out to both your staff as well as potential applicants, employees. All right, jumping right along. I'm gonna ask Crystal to administer the poll. One question, who do you think is the most effective source for pay communication? Managers and supervisors, awesome. And I must admit, previously I had some different choices in here that were a little bit confusing. So glad everybody chose the managers and supervisors. And strange enough, nobody chose Google today. We've had that before. But yes, most definitely. And going along those lines, what I will then jump into is just to ask you, and you should be familiar, I hope you're familiar with the annotate tool, just to continue the conversation. Jump in, why do you think it's important to talk about pay with your team members? Something, anything, somebody, anybody. Transparency, most definitely.
Don't be shy. Y'all know we like to talk about the money.
Mine is not
What-
letting me write, so I don't know if anybody else is having that issue. Did y'all hear me?
Mhm. Anybody else having issues using the tool? What about making sure that employees know who to come to get information about their pay? Because again, going back to the poll, you don't want them jumping into Google first. You want them to come to you first before anything else, right?
Right.
First, I think you need to send everybody a cup of coffee.
I know. Did you hear me? I said, right, Kareem. I'm just waiting. Come on, y'all. It's Friday. Let's party.
Open lines of communication, most definitely.
It's okay to
I
shout
think
it out.
for me, I think I'm just a little conflicted on what a proper response to that would be.
Every and anything.
Mhm.
We're just talking. So anything. It doesn't have to be properly constructed. It doesn't have to be fall within any specific lines. Just whatever you think. Definitely helps with morale. But most definitely these three, it helps with morale, open lines of communication. Because the thing is, you always want to be transparent. You always want to ensure that your team members know that they can come talk to you about anything related to pay. Because if something is going on and an employee feels that something is up with my pay, rather than have them keep themselves withdrawn and just say, you know what, I'm not even going to stay here. I'm going to go find another job. It's possible that they could talk to you and you might not have even realized what's going on in their mind. And that can lead to you making the necessary changes to keep them. If you don't mind clearing that for me, Crystal. Thank you. All right, so within one of the key fundamental components of compensation is establishing a compensation structure. How do we establish that structure? We use market pricing. So what we do is we find reputable sources of market data, of salary information. As it relates to us, we are an institution of higher ed. So we look at first higher ed jobs, but we also have a lot of jobs that are not specific to higher ed. So where you have a student success coordinator that's clearly related to higher ed, you may have an accountant, you may have a marketing professional that you'll find not just in higher ed, you'll find in other institutions as well. So we have to look at both industry specific higher ed jobs as well as general industry jobs to make sure that what we have or where our salaries are matches, or as much as we can match what's out there, to ensure that we are competitive. So when we get that information, it's used to establish, okay, what are our pay grades, and then which of the pay grades should each of these jobs fall? Does that make sense to everyone? And as we're going along the lines of the pay grades, so within that website that I mentioned as well, the compensation website, one of the links is for our pay plans, and the pay plans are it gives the list based on the different campuses. And one of our major achievements over the past couple of years is establishing a unified pay plan. Right now, we have the same pay plan for all of our institutions. So whether it's Dallas HSC system, you have pay grades 1 through 20, and they're all the same. Prior to that, we had we had many pay plans. And as you can imagine, having to run all those different pay plans for all the different institutions, it was a monumental task. So what we have is now within those pay plans, it lists all the different job titles, lists the pay grades, it lists whether or not they're exempt or non-exempt, their FLSA status, the retirement, whether it's TRS or ORP, and then it lists the quartiles, the minimum, the midpoint, the fourth quartile, the max, and the appointment period. And most of our jobs are 12-month, but then there are some that are 9 months. You'll more find those with faculty and a couple other jobs. And then in terms of, all right, now I have a pay plan. Where does each individual's salary fall within that pay plan? The factors that we use to determine that is our internal equity, the knowledge, skills, and abilities that are required for the job, in addition to what knowledge, skills, and abilities the individual is bringing to the job. And then where applicable, we can look at performance as well. All right, now let's talk. Scenario is a leader needs to hire a new team member to fill a vacancy created by a retiree who was paid in the fourth quartile. The department runs smoothly and customer expectations are usually exceeded. Question: what are the factors to be considered when determining the level of experience and the skill set for the new employee? And then how do these help to set the salary for that new employee? Take a minute, think about it, and then we can all unmute and we can talk about it. And I'll tell you that previously we would have a breakout session for these questions, but we've just decided that, you know, rather than have a breakout session, we just talk, because I think we can all learn from what everybody has to say that way. And you can think about it from the perspective of the hiring manager, or you can even give insights from the perspective of the employee, if you've been in the situation before, or just whichever. Find some Jeopardy music to play.
Dun, 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 dun.
And like I said, it doesn't matter, anything at all that comes to mind. I can start it off. So looking at it, it's a retiree paid in the fourth quartile. So one assumption is that, or could be that person probably was there for a while. They're probably a seasoned veteran as it relates to their experience. So they probably are well-versed in the runnings of the department and in how the job is done. One of the questions could be, do we need somebody that's at that level?
I don't know that you would necessarily need someone at that level, but definitely someone within the department already that knows how things run and operate. And I think this would be a good scenario for an internal promotion, possibly.
That's definitely one of the options that you have, right? Nothing at all wrong with that. Anybody else?
Thank you, Scott.
Kelly, your thoughts? Yeah, I'm gonna start picking on people.
Well, for me, it's who do I have in my department that could fill that role, that maybe that might fill that fourth quartile, because I want to keep them and I want to, if they've done a good job. But also looking at what skill set the new person has, does it meet where does that fall and what our needs are? And maybe we need to change the job description. So I think there's lots of things that you could do for this new position.
Okay. Definitely.
I think my perspective is a little bit different because I'm on grant funds. And so if I had a situation like this, I would consider budgetary factors. So if I needed to hire someone else, and maybe if there's something I know coming on the horizon, maybe I wouldn't want to hire someone who's at that same pay level, but go with someone who may with a lower salary if any event that there's something on the horizon that I need to consider.
Most definitely. So you can take this in so many different ways, because you could say, all right, I would like to maintain the status quo. So I'm going to try to find somebody that's at probably the same level as the person that's leaving to maintain that. But you can also take it a completely different route and say, you know what, without that person, the department is running smoothly. That means that we have the necessary skills to keep it running smoothly. One person alone may not necessarily change that dynamic. So we could potentially say, all right, let's bring someone in that's new in their career. And as they come in, we can start them at the lower salary and then build everyone up. And you can even take that you can even go different directions with that too, to say, all right, bring someone in at the brand new at a lower salary and adjust the other staff members with the additional funds that you'd be saving from that. Or you could say, all right, you know what? To what Scott and Kelly were saying, find somebody that's within the department that you can say, all right, you've been here almost as long or just as long as who's the person that's retiring. We're going to see you as that go-to team lead, what have you, if we're going that route, and put you up to that fourth quartile. So you can take it in many different areas. And to Bridget's point, that not everybody has the same funding capabilities. So that's always going to definitely be a factor. It's not always okay. Oh, whoever, I'm just going to pay you whatever. No, it might be that you are paying at the fourth quartile now, but with the person retiring, things might have changed with your grant, and you're saying, all right, now I have to scale back. And with that, you go with someone that's just starting out in their career and pay them at a lower salary. But it's one of those cases where there's no real wrong answer. It's always a matter of what does the department need? What's best for the team? And this goes also back to having the communication with the team to say, all right, if we bring someone in brand new, would you guys be able to aid in the training and all that? Or would you guys prefer to have someone that can hit the ground running without having much training? So keep on the discussion side. Gonna have you talking a lot today. And I would like, please, if we could get a volunteer to read this one. Or I could voluntold someone. Voluntel.
2 years ago, Maggie manager hired Stephen's staff to join her team with the intention of quickly promoting him. After 12 months, Stephen was offered a promotion, but when he was informed of the new salary, he was disappointed and stated that it was still lower than what he had made in his previous job. He had taken a pay cut when starting with the organization and was expecting more. Stephen came back to Maggie manager a few days later with information he had gathered, showing what he thought people in similar positions were making. He wanted to demonstrate that the salary wasn't competitive. Maggie manager reviewed some of the factors considered in determining Stephen's new salary. Stephen knew he was already the highest paid person on the team and that it would be inequitable to adjust his salary to an even higher amount. Maggie manager explained how valuable Stephen had become and how she thought he would perform well in the new role. Maggie also explained that the agency had limited budget to work with and simply could not have salary parity with the private sector jobs. Maggie also reviewed the total reward statement with Stephen, highlighting not only cash compensation, but employer contributions to benefits, non-cash compensation, and any additional perks. It was not the easiest conversation to have, but Stephen understood the rationale. They also discussed other ways for the manager to support Stephen and his contributions to the organization.
Raise your hand if you've ever been in a situation like that or know of an exact situation like that. And I can tell you that it happens quite often. And I say that not only outside of our institution, but many times within our institution. Tell me what comes to mind, or what are your thoughts as it relates to this case study? Skylar, gonna pick on you this time.
I just going over everything. To be honest, I've not necessarily, no, I want to say I've been in a situation on the manager side, but I have gone through it on the employee side and understanding that you do want a higher salary. In my case, I've been in admissions for a very long time. So I've been the loan admissions counselor several times for UNT Dallas. So having that conversation as a manager would be very different, but I know what it would be like as the employee. So I completely would understand the employee's point of view and what they're wanting to do and how they're wanting to get everything situated. Because it's tough when you're the person that is doing all the work. So definitely completely relate to Stephen in terms of coming through it from Maggie manager standpoint. I would have to phone a friend on that one because I haven't had to haven't had to experience that just yet.
And in those conversations, it's always good to have the varying viewpoints. So having been or having intimate knowledge of the situation from the employee side and knowing that you may have to have that conversation at some point as a manager, that allows you to be empathetic towards whoever that employee is that you'll be having the discussion with. And Jan, let's hear from you.
Yeah, I agree with what Skylar was saying, but I know something. Well, as a manager, in the hiring process, I've had that happen several times. But what I've done is try to highlight the benefits as well that come with the position that may also kind of make up for the lack in salary. So that's been the best thing I've known to do to maybe, diffuse a situation like this, especially when there are budgetary restrictions and there's no more room for us to offer more to the employees. So yeah, right. That's the only way, even though it would be nice to be able to just give people raises and
most definitely. Right, exactly. We would love to. We would most definitely love to say, you get a raise, everybody gets a raise. But it's not always possible. And like you said, it's good to highlight the parts of the job that have nothing necessarily to do with cash. Sometimes not everybody wants to hear that, and that's the plain and simple truth. That conversation may not work for everyone, to be honest, but you have to look at it from the perspective of people don't work in higher ed to get rich, because that's not going to happen. So you highlight the things, because number one, as an institution of higher ed that's a public institution, we'll probably never be able to match the salaries in the private sector. So that's one. The other thing is highlighting some of the things that they will get. So for example, oftentimes in the private sector, you're working from 7 a.m. to whatever time at night, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. For the most part, you can actually have a life when you're working here. Yes, there comes a certain seasons when the job gets extra demanding and you have to work some extra hours, but that's the rare occurrence and not the norm, which is not the same with a lot of corporate jobs. Highlighting the fact that, hey, guess what? Just by working here, you get a week off in December, totally paid by the institution. You become a part of a family. So looking at it from the perspective of UNT Dallas, what UNT Dallas is doing within the Dallas community, you become a part of that. Your role might be small in some, depending on where you are, but you are contributing to that. So it's highlighting those things. What it is that the leave package, the fact that, oh, just as a part of it, you get you're eligible for longevity pay. Mark you, it's not a lot, but the longer you work, the more you get. You could move from buying yourself a lollipop every month to buying yourself some ice cream, that sort of thing. So it's highlighting what they can do, just, and depending on where they are, just as a part of the wider institutional community, you are part of something bigger than you. Help them becoming a mentor, that they're expanding outside of the institution, and they're helping others as well. So there are a lot of different things that you look at, the cash and non-cash aspects of the job, and say, all right, those are some of the selling points to focus on. And again, brings up the whole total reward statement, that whether or not if you can show that to them and just point out what they have available to them, that's also a good selling point. But yeah, it's a difficult conversation, but it's one that many of us have to face. Any questions, comments? Crickets. All right, thank you. All right. They're like, he makes us do so much. All right. You have your employees, you are thinking about pay or just having the conversation. What are some of the types of pay adjustments that you know of or that you can think of? Anything, everything.
What's a pay adjustment? Merit increase?
Say again?
I said that I'm asking, like, what exactly is a pay adjustment?
Person is being paid $1,000 today, and anything that makes a change to that, anything at all.
Up or down?
Up or down.
Okay.
That's why we didn't make sure not to say pay increase, but pay adjustment. So yes, up or down.
I appreciate you asking that question though, Kelly, because some friends,
Yes.
along with myself, might have been a little,
So merit increase, overtime pay, longevity. Then raise, and that can come in different forms. Yes, a demotion, promotion. Cost of living. Most definitely. A market change. Yeah, so all these are most definitely types of pay adjustments. And Crystal, declare it. I'll move to the next one. So yes, promotion, reclassification, merit, equity, lateral, demotion. There are a couple here that, or there are a couple that were listed previously that are not here. So like, for example, cost of living. And why something like that isn't on this list is because typically a cost of living adjustment is not something that you, the manager, would initiate. So that's usually an undertaken by senior leadership. But yes, it most definitely is an adjustment type. Same thing with the longevity. So even though it is an adjustment type, because the manager would not be the one to initiate that. That's why it's not on the list. And I say that to ensure that you know that yes, they are definitely adjustment types. So promotion. A promotion is generally any move from a classification in a particular pay grade to another class, to a different classification at a higher pay grade, which more often than not will come with it a salary increase. A promotion is linked to a reclassification. They're similar, but not the same. And as it relates to a promotion, it can be done in a couple different ways. It can be done through the process of a reclassification, where based on the job duties, like someone mentioned, change in job duties, based on the job duties that are being undertaken by the individual, they're at a higher level than what they were before. The scope of the job has increased. So based on that, there is a need to move them from that one classification to a higher classification, which would then be completed in the form of a reclass. And these are separate because when we go to reclassification now, a promotion always goes upward. A reclassification goes in all directions. So you can be reclassified to a higher level, a higher grade. You can be reclassified downward. Those are few, but they do happen. Or you can be reclassified laterally, where you are in a different job title, but you're at the same grade that you were before. And a reclassification, even though we're saying adjustment types, but a reclassification does not always equate to a change in pay, but more often than not, they do. Market adjustments. Market adjustments takes two forms. And when I say two forms, in the sense that there are market adjustments that are undertaken system-wide or at the institutional level. And we typically, at the moment, we complete one of those every 3 years. In fact, right now, we're in the process of working through a system-wide market study. And in this instance, when it's a system-wide market study, we're not looking at the individual position or the jobs that you do. So we're not looking at Kelly's job, her day-to-day. We're not looking at Bridget's day-to-day. We're looking at your classification as a whole, which includes everyone that's doing the job from a market standpoint to ensure that, okay, just for argument's sake, your classification has a minimum salary of $1,000 and a maximum of $10,000. Market says that for your title, it should actually be minimum 2,000, maximum 20,000. So at the end of this type of market study, we may make adjustments to the pay grade, but not necessarily your pay. However, in the event that you were paid $1,000 at the minimum of that pay grade, and now the minimum becomes $2,000, you have to be given a salary increase. So in a general market study, that's where that comes in. However, now a more targeted market adjustment would be, let's say, a cabinet member or so is looking at their team and is saying, I don't believe that my team is being paid where they should be as it relates to market. Now they can then request that compensation looks at their team and conducts a mini market study on their team to ensure that where they're being paid is equitable from a market standpoint. And when that is done, that would be looking at your individual jobs. Does that make sense? Then we have a merit increases. Now, a merit increase can take one of two forms. It can take the form of an adjustment to your base salary, or it can take the form of a lump sum payment. It's just a matter of what route the institution decides to take as it relates to that. Each institution will have their own rules and eligibility requirements as it relates to merit. But one of the main or key rules is that it's going to be the individual would have had to be employed as at a particular date, and that they should not have received a merit increase within the last 6 months. Those two rules are standard. And again, there are other rules, but and eligibility requirements, but that's usually based on the institution. Equity adjustment. No, equity adjustment is basically a mini market study, but instead of looking at the industry or the outside market, you're looking within the institution. So you might be looking at how does your salary or how does this employee's salary stack up to the other people within the same classification when we look at the requirements, the actual job duties, and the skills that this person brings to the job. And then based on that, are they being paid at a rate that's equal to each other based on them doing equal work? Or is there a disparity that should be addressed? And then there's a lateral move. And again, a lateral move is moving someone to a different classification that's at the same level. Doesn't always equate to a salary adjustment, but often it does, because in these instances, the skill set that's required for job A, even though it's in the same pay grade, it may be a completely different skill set and may warrant additional a higher salary based on what the person is doing. And then we have the one that nobody likes, the demotion. They're few, but they happen. And that's just how it is. Obviously, when there's a demotion, you'd be having multiple conversations with your HR business partner. But if it has to happen, then that would mean that the individual is being moved from a classification or a title at one level and moving into a classification that is at a lower level. Again, there's policy and rules surrounding that. In some instances, the individual may be able to maintain their current salary, but it all depends on whether or not that salary fits within the new pay grade. And there are a couple other things to look at from a policy standpoint. And that's why in those instances, you definitely have some conversations with your HR business partner. Any questions? All right, so reclass, we spoke about that. Didn't want to come here and then talk about it again, but yeah, we went through everything. Internal equity review, that's again, when we're talking about equity and saying that it's basically a mini market study, but instead of looking at industry, we're looking at the individuals within the institution. FLSA, or Fair Labor Standards Act. This is basically a law. So we don't create this. We just enact it based on what the law states. It's really related to minimum wage, overtime eligibility, record keeping as it relates to exempt versus non-exempt, for the most part. There are other aspects to it, but for our purposes, that's basically what it's dealing with. And we have a link to the Department of Labor's website and the FLSA Act on our website as well. All right. So now when you're wanting to have those conversations with your employees, few things to note. Do communicate clearly, transparently about the process of compensation calculations. And you can always, before you have the conversation, reach out to your compensation representative, reach out to your HR business partner, have a conversation with us first, so you can map out how you're going to have the conversation with your employees. Nothing at all wrong with that. In fact, we recommend that. Again, looking back at the total reward statement, share that with your employees. Remind them of the total compensation package that they have. Understand that it's okay for your employees or your team members to ask questions. In fact, you should probably be worried if they don't ask questions, because who knows what they're thinking, or who are they getting that information from, because it might be the wrong information or the wrong person that they're going to and asking. Always know that HR is here for you. So always know that you can contact us about anything that you need. And be prepared to listen more than you talk. I'm pretty sure you've heard this in one of your other sessions, that sometimes just having or giving that ear goes a long way. Be curious when an employee is letting you know that they're dissatisfied, rather than asking them, why are you dissatisfied? Just let them explain where they're coming from, because in doing so, you might realize that there's a whole lot more to the dissatisfaction than maybe just pay. It could be a big part of it, but there could be a whole lot more. And be ready for follow-up conversations, because that again shows that you care. Because if your team member mentions something to you that requires follow-up and you do not follow up, then why did I even bother saying anything to you if you didn't even care enough to come back to me and find out how things are going with that? Any questions, comments?
I have a question about the equity review.
Mhm.
So I work in athletics, and so I have like a male men's basketball coach, women's basketball coach. So if I have to hire one or the other, or if I'm hiring an assistant or whatever, does that mean like no matter what I have to, if this is what the men's coach is making, this is what the women's coach has to make? Does that, no, I mean, I have Title IX stuff I have to also think about too, but how does that play into that equity piece?
So you bring up a really good example, because a part of you might want to think of it, okay, just for argument's sake, and this was not your question, but I'm going to go there. The men's basketball coach might be a man. The women's basketball coach might be a woman. That should not be a factor. So gender is not the factor. Because of how athletics is situated, in that instance, we would not necessarily be able to go solely off of internal equity. We have to go with internal equity and add in the market piece to that, because industry-wise, it might simply be that, and not might simply be, you know this, the men's basketball coach is going to be making more than the women's basketball coach. And that's whether each one is male or female. It's just how it is industry-wise. Now, from an institutional perspective, the institution may choose to say, I don't care, you're both basketball coaches, so this is what you're going to make, but that's not always the case. And then, so there's a whole lot that may go into that. But in that instance, it may not be wholly and solely as it relates to internal equity. It might have to boil down to market, because we just have some jobs that we're just not able to look at only internal equity, because one person will just say, okay, if that's what you're going to do, I can hop over to the next school, and they don't care about that. They're going to pay me what I should be paid, if you get what I mean. So it's a matter of, one, the institution's approach, and then depending on the job, some jobs may require maybe that internal, we can't look internally, we have to look from a market perspective. And then again, not to flog a dead horse, but as it relates to athletics too, your win ratio is going to also potentially affect that too over time. So there's a lot that gets added into that. Any other questions? But that was a really good question, Kevin. Comments? All right, so we know the do's. What about the don'ts? Cannot stress this enough. Do not make promises you cannot keep. Even from a compensation perspective, sometimes we might get a salary, someone might ask us to review a salary adjustment or even a reclassification prior to the EPAR being submitted. And we might look at it and know for a fact that, oh, this is fine, this is perfect, this is going to go through. But we will try not to ever say, oh yes, this is. We will say to you, it seems okay, but until I do, because there are other aspects to it. You still need to complete a full review, number one. And number two, there are other approvals associated with it. And what if one of the other approvers says no? So there are other, and just looking at it in general, so don't make promises you can't keep. It's nothing wrong with talking to them about it, but just be upfront with them. Say, all right, it looks good, I can try my best, we'll see what we can do. But yeah, don't promise anything. Don't blame the organization, because as the supervisor, as the manager, for all intents and purposes, you are the organization. And it might be you might always sometimes be tempted to say, you know what, I'm just gonna throw UNT under the bus. I need a scapegoat. No, don't do that. Just talk to them. If it is that you need to get in more information regarding the situation, contact somebody else, by all means do that. Don't make comments like, you're already paid higher than you should be, so just be satisfied for what you have. That sometimes you might want to say that. Sometimes we've probably even heard that before, but for those of us who have heard it before, just think about how that made you feel. And for those that might think to say it, just think about how it might make your employee feel, because they're gonna believe that, okay, then I guess my efforts are not appreciated, because there's a whole lot more to that conversation. So that's not something that you should be saying to your team members. Don't discuss other employees' compensation. Yes, we are a public institution, and yes, that's public information, but we don't want to be discussing other people's salaries with the team members. Don't rush through the conversation, or don't give your team member, give your employee your undivided attention, because that in and of itself goes a long way too. And going right back to the total compensation, the total awards package, don't focus only on the cash compensation. Look at the whole, and we keep trying to hammer that in, but look at the whole, that there's more to it than just the salary. And again, sometimes for some employees, that's not going to be enough, and that's the plain and simple truth, but just still try to hammer it home. And if you take nothing away from today, just know that your compensation team is here for you. Your HR team is here for you. If you have gone through the compensation website and you're unsure of anything, or even if you can't be bothered to go through the website and you just want to talk to somebody to get information, feel free to reach out to us. On this page, it shows you the breakdown of the different campuses. But like I mentioned at the beginning, we might be designated to certain campuses, but we can all answer any of your questions. We're all one team. So if you can't get in touch with Vanessa, by all means, reach out to myself, reach out to Jane. If you can't get in touch with Melinda, reach out to anyone else on the team, because we're here for you. Any questions, any comments? All right, so your homework from this is I need a 2-page essay back to front. Yes, I'm going old school. I want it handwritten, not typed up. I'm just kidding. Well, if you have no questions, I thank you very much for your time. Thank you for your participation. And again, just remember that we are here for you. And if you ever have any questions related to compensation or performance management or EPARS, your compensation team is here for you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Kareem. Don't think it's over. We're moving on over to Tina. Or Tina, did you want to do a break right now?
Well, I think that the group, do you guys need to grab water or do something else? Do you want to take 5 minutes? Kareem actually left us, at least he left us like 2 minutes, but I won't need the whole hour. We'll definitely make lunch in time.
Listen,
so do you want to take a quick 5 minute? You did really good, Kareem.
I think I deserve an award. I usually go 10-15 minutes over.
He leaves me like this little bit of space, but yes. So let's go ahead and take 5 minutes, and then because we're gonna transition presenters as well. Sounds good?
See y'all at 10:14. 10:14.
Huh?
Oh, I'm sorry, 11:14. Yeah, so it's Friday. Bye, y'all.
You have a whole different clock too. My clock says 10:58 right now.
And I said mute your camera, so that says everything.
That segues us into our next part of our presentation as we talk about having a nice break next week. So picking up on the total rewards, just a presentation. This is part 2. We talked about compensation. The bottom line at the end of the day is like, what about me? What's my compensation? So I want to move into our benefits presentation. And so we're just going to get started. And I don't have a lot of homework for you, but we do want to kick it off with a little bit of engagement. So, okay, there we go. So why are benefits? Let me know if you can see that screen. Yes? Kareem? You see the why are benefits important? Is that the screen you all see?
No, still seeing the first page, UNT
Okay.
system employee benefits.
Okay, so let's see. There we go. How about that? Yes. Good. Why are benefits important?
Yes,
Okay,
we can see it.
Perfect. Okay, so we just want to take the time. One of the things that I often say to myself is I remind myself, and as managers and supervisors just on the call, at the end of the day, we're employees too. So we're always thinking about it, just from that employee's perspective. I think sometimes when we shift it, it can go different ways. So thinking about even for yourself personally, why are benefits important? And if you can just use the annotate at the top or chime in if you want to just unmute, not type, I'm totally okay with that as well. So why are benefits important? Mhm. Any more? Added value to outside of salary? Family, yes. Perks to prevent turnover, for sure. That's a good one. Couple more? Helps people understand what's available to them. Mhm. Yes, insurance is expensive, for sure. Okay. Any others? Attracts great candidates. I like that one for sure. It definitely can be attractive. Okay, going once, going twice. All right, very good. So all of those are really important. So why are benefits important? And everything that you all have shared, those are things that are important to us at any given time. So just a couple things here. Things to look at. So prospective employees rarely make job decisions based on salary alone. And I think we can all attain that. You know, for me personally, I can remember being offered, you know, the position with UNT Dallas, and I had a very transparent, you know, supervisor that just made it very clear. It's like, this is what we're budgeting. This is what I can do, you know, just even kind of preventing the whole counter back and forth. It's like, this is everything that I have. And I so appreciated that. But depending on, and our next slide, we'll kind of get into that, depending on your unique situation, different things are important to different people at different times, right? So we're going to take a look at that. When it comes to our benefits, you can actually look at your compensation increasing up to 25 to 36% of your employee's total compensation. And so those are the things, you know, when you're offered a position and say they offer you 50,000, just for an example, when you take into that compensation, and this is why those total reward statements are so powerful, because it really shows you what the state is actually paying for you as an employee. And it's not just your take-home pay. It can be up to 36% more. And I know, Scott, you can kind of attest to this, you know, just from that side of things, it's just realizing how much more goes into that, not to mention your sick and your vacation, but it's a total compensation package. And many employees, one of the things too with benefits, is not just health insurance, dental insurance, but it's work-life balance. I mean, we're all preparing for the Thanksgiving break. We're preparing for the holiday break. So for higher ed, it does give the potential to have work-life balance. Those things are really important. Those things come up on our you know, surveys often along those lines. Flexible work schedule, flexible work arrangement. The hybrid, we just recently was reviewing the Gallup results and just looking at the flexible work, you know, and just how that, and it came one of those things that employees that had more control over if they had the option to do flexible work arrangement had a higher engagement than possibly those that it wasn't left to them or that benefit wasn't there. And we know that all positions don't afford us the remote option. It really does depend on the position. But those are incentives depending on your recruitment and moving forward with that. So benefits they really are important. I love this slide because I always feel like this slide between data and graphics, they always tell a story, right? And looking at this slide as employees, and I'm sure those of us on the call, I don't know if we represent all the generations on this call, but you can see how different things are important to different people depending on where they are in their life, right? And so just kind of going down to where's the one? From the baby boomers, I mean, you know, I'm not quite there, but I'm almost there. So I'm more concerned with retirement. Bottom line, like what's the retirement? What is along those lines? Working hours, leave, when am I going to be up my health insurance, all of those things. But if you go, to Gen Z, you see that it's totally reverse. Retirement is at the bottom, right? So can you all relate to that? That makes sense, right? Just being able to just see that. And what about you guys? Think about this, looking at this slide, is there some truth to this? What do you think? Just unmute yourself. What do you see based upon where you are? Does this kind of speak to your priorities?
For me, it does. And I'm a millennial, and all of my staff members are Gen Z. So even in our day-to-day communications and even in our meetings, I can definitely tell the differences in our perspectives of the workplace.
Anyone else?
It does. I would move some things around for my generation. I'm also a millennial. I just recently had a baby, so healthcare is a little bit higher on the priority side for me. So that's the only thing that I would adjust on mine, but it looks pretty accurate for myself as well.
Yeah. Anybody else? Feel free to chime in. But for sure, just all of those different things are the case. It really does depend upon, where you are at any given time. And the reason why this slide is so important just from a supervisory perspective, because think about hiring and recruiting, for your positions, because depending on your candidate, you can speak to what might be. We don't want to stereotype or assume anybody is in any specific area of what's important to them, because we are all very much different. But you can kind of speak to that, because when you're looking at an entry-level position, we have our academic advisors. That would be a great example, for that. It's just kind of competitive, just for areas that we might see turnover. We realize in introductory and kind of first jobs or intro positions that those aren't going to be long-standing. Those are people looking for career opportunities. That might be their first opportunity or second. So they're going to be on a career path. But knowing what's important to your staff, to your employees, is really important to start having those conversations. And even as, Kareem was talking about having the transparent conversations regarding compensation, but for possibly a millennial or whatever that case might be, a conversation, we have the tuition benefit. And so a tuition remission benefit, maybe they want to go for their master's or they're looking for other programs. And so there's ways for their compensation, their total rewards to show up in a different way. And so I think understanding benefits and the benefits that we offer is very helpful for supervisors. And I will say this about benefits: they don't matter till they matter, right? Because one of my positions, I'm the business partner for UNT Dallas, but also just the benefit advisor. And we talk about all of these things when a new employee is onboarded and go through the orientation, but half of this stuff just kind of goes over your head because it's not important. But later on, we'll get these calls like, oh my God, what about this? Or can I do this? Or I didn't know we have this. And that's what we're here for, to answer those questions. Okay. So just to kind of note, I'm not going to go to the website. I know Kareem talked about the one-stop shop for compensation. There is also a one-stop shop for the benefits. And I highly encourage our new employees, specifically but for you as managers and supervisors, to save these websites in your favorites. Because sometimes someone will say, well, how do I sign up for FMLA or whatever the case might be? Your employees are engaging with you, the supervisor, so often way before they're going to engage with me as a benefit advisor. And so just having this website, the links are there, the logins are there, all of that information, it's going to speak to all of our insurance plans. They'll speak to the retirements and different perks that are underutilized resources that we're often on a campaign about our perks, because we do have a lot of perks that are completely no additional cost to our employees, as well as the various leave types. And so, and of course, our HR benefits email, any question can be sent to that email, and any one of our benefit advisors can respond to that. So I'm just one person for Dallas, but we support We have benefit advisors for UNT, HSC, and literally we operate kind of as one team. So if there's questions, I'm not the only person that's there, and all of each campus, and I'll share that at the end, that there are representation for each campus. Please feel free to raise your hand or anything if you have any questions or any comments, especially if you've had experiences or something has become an obstacle for yourself or for your team, because we want to know about that. Okay. So employee assistance. So I don't know. I know some of you on this call might know me, but I just really consider myself the EAP queen. Every single meeting that I am invited to, I talk about the employee assistance program. And as a supervisor, this is a huge benefit that is available to your employees. So often we, talk about conversations that your team might have. You can have an employee that's, calling or, continuously late or experiencing different things that are going on with their family, with their life, with their children. And not that they have to share this personal information with you, because everybody's situations are confidential and pertaining to them, but just to know that you can tell them, reach out to benefits, talk to them and see what options are available, to you. So the EAP program is available for all employees, and this is a free benefit. This is not, when you talk about the total, rewards package, this is no out-of-pocket cost, no charge to our employees. And yet many of our employees are missing out on the opportunities that it provides. So it doesn't matter if it's a personal situation that's going on, a financial situation, or, and this benefit is available to that employee and anybody in their household. Because, I'm a mom, I have young adult children, and I was talking to an employee the other day, and she needs time, and it's not her unique situation that she's struggling with, but it's one of her dependents, is someone in her home. And from an engagement perspective, if we have things going on in our personal lives, it will impact the work, and for supervisors, that, and it is okay to, say, do you need some help? These are your benefits, these are here. And I kind of look at it and people's like, well, this is my personal life and I don't want it, shared in my work. But we're giving you benefits for your personal life, right? So these benefits are available, for employees, and no matter what. And it's up to 6 sessions per event. So if someone needed a counseling event, they can, for free, work with a licensed professional for up to 6 sessions. So no matter what that situation might be, those benefits are available. In our conversations, and I'm sharing this with you as supervisors, because this is an underutilized benefit, but yet I believe that it indirectly ties into turnover, because these are things that are available and people leave for different reasons. And even just from the financial resources that are available, if compensation, or they're looking, I need to make more money, I need to do this. Sometimes it's not about making more money, it's knowing how to manage the money that you have. And so just being able to refer them to other options to look at, I believe this is a helpful, benefit. For legal, I've had employees to share that they were able to get legal counsel, they won their case, it had a monetary benefit tied to it, and so it comes in handy. So if you don't need it, please be my champion for any of your colleagues and your team, just so that they can at least, steps, like first step, this is a good place for them to start. And I want to pause there, because for any of you, have you utilized, I want to put you on the spot, utilize anything pertaining to the EAP program, because it's really hard to advocate for something that you have not experienced yourself, right? And so, anybody? And I want to say, we do not know who utilizes these benefits from an employer perspective. So this isn't anything that is going to impact anybody else's, personal life. We only get the data. So when we say something is underutilized, all we're saying is, this is a percentage of people that are using it. No names, nothing personal is shared with the employer. Okay. But if someone is just comfortable, maybe just sharing if you've ever taken advantage or know of someone who has, in the reports, because I'm always about the employee experience. I do a lot of things and sign up for a lot of things just because I want to know what our employees are going to experience if they need it, you know, just as a test. So what do you think? I know, Bridget, you're thinking, so what do you think?
So I put in the chat that I've used EAP before at my previous university. I just hadn't used it here at UNTD, but it's very helpful. And the assistance, like it was really fast, which was what I needed in that moment.
Yeah.
Very helpful.
Yeah. And we hope that that's our, you know, employees' experience, that they find the value, you know, in it, to be able to do that. I mean, and it's a great resource. Honestly, you know, one of my things that I do is I operate as a life coach. And a life coach is looking at every area of a person's life, right? So their personal, their financial, their relational, their spiritual, whatever that those questions and those challenges, life skill types of things would be. And I always tell people this EAP is like having your personal life coach. You know, if I need to talk to somebody about finances or legal or relational, I have teenagers, you know, they're going through some things. This is just a great place for all of that. And it's free. Life coaches are not cheap. They cost a lot of money, but this is something that's totally yours at no cost for our employees. So, okay, I'll get off my soapbox with that one, but it is definitely a great resource. So this is really something, I know that it comes up often regarding benefit eligibility. So what makes a position benefit eligible? And I mean, I received a call today from an adjunct, you know, person inquiring why did they have to pay into TRS because they're adjunct, you know, type of a thing. And so any employment that is the FTE is the driver. So 0.50, which is 20 hours or more, 4.5 months or longer, that position is benefit eligible. And the reason why I want to highlight this and even state that, because so often with all of you, you may have non-student hourly employees, and you know, this is why we have that 19-hour limit or 20-hour limit as far as the time that they can work, because they're going to start to show up and be flagged on reports if they are working more than the 0.50 FTE for 4.5 months or longer. That would make them benefit eligible. And if we're not offering them benefits, then we should. And so that's why that part is really important. But this is what makes an employee eligible for the retirement, for all of the benefits that we're talking about. That is just something to note. That's what makes them eligible. And even in your department, when you're looking at wanting to have someone, especially people want non-student hourly, and they're like, well, I need somebody, you know, and I need them to work 30 hours. It's like, okay, but if you do, then you're not asking for a non-student hourly position. You're asking for a new position that would be benefit eligible. This is retirement plan participation. This is helpful to know for supervisors. I know you all know this as employees, but for supervisors, and especially when you're having conversations with your new hires, retirement is a mandatory benefit. These are not things that an employee enrolls themselves in. They do not make the election for retirement during benefits orientation. They're only electing their health, dental, vision, those benefits, optional life insurance, and things along those lines. They do not enroll themselves in retirement. They are automatically enrolled in retirement. And this, the reason why I really highlight this even more is, as you can see, this is 8.25% that's going to come out of their check up front. And I receive calls constantly from employees saying, well, I want to reduce my retirement, or I don't want to do this. This isn't something that they chose, and so this is not something that they can cancel. This, but it can be a lot, you know, when you're looking at it, not to mention we pay into Social Security. So if you're hiring employees that come from maybe an ISD where they didn't have to pay into Social Security, now they have these deductions that are coming out upfront on top of. So when you kind of talk about that compensation and that bottom line and how benefits makes up this additional percentage, but this is also more deductions that an employee is going to see, you know, on their paycheck. And we don't want them to be surprised. And so that's one of the things, just to kind of share that the TRS and retirement is mandatory. Okay. And there's two different types of retirement plans, the ORP and the TRS. I don't just want to refer to that. And each employee, that they would know which retirement plan that they qualify for. ORP eligible employees are notified separately, and that tends to be more of our faculty and certain coaches and different things along those lines, librarians that are eligible for ORP retirees. So there's some differences in those. Each employee is made aware of that, but I just think it's good for the supervisors to know in those conversations. The benefit education, one of the things, just talking about benefits, and because we do benefit presentations, and because I have numerous times, as well as my benefit colleagues, where we're having to submit administrative exceptions, and because our new hires, they have done things, they've missed it. They've missed their enrollment opportunity window. They've let time pass. And now they'll reach out and say, oh, I didn't know that I needed to do this, or I didn't need to do this. But what happens is, a lot of our new employees, when you're hired, and those of you who are on the call, you can kind of attest to this, and even for some of your new people, that you come in the door and all of a sudden you start running. You know, it's like you have all of this trainings, mandatory trainings you need to do. You're already invited to meetings, you're starting the work, you're transitioning with somebody that you're replacing. But they missed that window. So we just highly want to encourage time to do this. This is their time to make those offerings. These are, if they don't make decisions at this time, they have to wait until a summer enrollment in order to do this. So they only have two other options from the time of hire to choose benefits. And it's either doing our summer open enrollment, where we can make new changes, or if they have a family status change. And so just things to keep in mind. And that family status change, even for your team, if you know somebody is out, and, you know, as Scarlett had shared, just having a new dependent, making sure that they know that they need to add their dependents. It's not automatic. It's just different things along those lines. If there's someone loses their job, or there's a reduction, say that one of your teammates go from a full-time to a part-time, you know, position, their benefits and everything will be impacted by those things. And so benefit does play a big, you know, part in that experience. Our new hire orientations right now, they're every Tuesday. So, which is great. It used to be that they were just offered twice a month, but now they're hybrid, and it's all of our campuses participate in this orientation. And they're offered every Tuesday from 10 to 11:30. So this information is communicated to them, but as supervisors, just having those follow-up conversations, making sure that they've taken care of those things, that helps us out a lot to be able to do that. Okay. And one of the things that we have started, and more so due to our 1-year turnover report, so that's one of the things that we're really focusing on is, you know, the employees that we're losing after just just their first year, they got making it past that. So we have the Breakfast with Bob that we are inviting all of our new hires within either their 60 days of employment or within their 90 days of employment with us. They're invited to a breakfast with our chief HR officer for Dallas, as well as the president. And the main thing there, some of the takeaways was that they wanted one-on-one meetings. They want someone to walk them through the process, or just that follow-up. And so we are providing those resources there. But so often the things that we're inviting them to, we do need the supervisors to support and to encourage attendance, you know, for those things, because that is for them to be heard. That's for us to kind of know what their experiences are, and so that we can address those, as well as to support our supervisors and our leadership. Any questions or comments? Because I know I'm going really fast, and I try not to talk really fast. Any thoughts? You guys good? EPARS. Wow, the EPAR, the Electronic Payroll Action Request EPARs. This is the driver for everything, the EPARs, they do everything for us. One of the things that we're kind of talking about this, and I know US supervisors are aware of this process, but it's a key part for the new hires onboarding. And at my previous institution, it was a higher ed as well. I did exit interviews with, one-on-one meetings, exit interviews with every faculty staff that left our university. And you would be surprised. I would have exit interviews with people who were retiring. They're getting ready to leave. They've been with us 20 plus years. And they will reflect on their onboarding experience. So if there were obstacles, if there were things that they didn't have access to, if there were challenges, if there were different things, it just kind of stayed with them. It's one of those things that how you start kind of is a big part, right? As you're transitioning, because how you start is like, just that expectation of meeting people, based upon their expectations and just wanting a smooth transition in that process. So the EPAR, that has a lot to do with how smooth this transition is going to be. Their access, wanting to make sure that they're set up to be able to access everything that they need to do. And we are seeing, delays in the EPARs, and those impact deadlines of other sorts. And so just to kind of keep those things in mind, because they can affect leave accruals, paycheck distributions, having to play catch up on things, missed opportunities to take deductions that needed to be taken. And now all of a sudden they're doubled or they're tripled, whatever that case might be. And so employees, they have 31 days to sign up for their optional coverages, their dental, their vision, and 60 days. I want to highlight this 60-day. I don't know if any of you on the call when you were hired, but if you experienced that 60-day waiting period for health insurance, did any of you have that when you were hired? That 60-day waiting period. That I had that experience as well, and that caught me by surprise, because for the most part, and a lot of other people coming to us, either their benefits started the first of the month that they were hired, or for some now employers, they start the first day of work, right? And so we have that 60-day waiting period for the health insurance. They still have to make the election, but their benefits won't start for 60 days. I want to, just get in front of that conversation and letting people know when they're leaving and they're giving notice to their, previous employers along those lines, because that's something that would maybe change their start date or change their decision to know that they have to wait. When I'm talking to new hires, and departments will refer maybe new candidates to the benefits team to kind of have some conversations that they may want to have regarding their benefits. I share this information with them. And one of the things that I share with that 60-day waiting period is if they're coming from another employer, they have the opportunity to choose COBRA, if they choose to do that, so that they're not uncovered, because depending on your candidate, if it's just them, some employees would just kind of take the risk. They're like, okay, well, nothing happens within that 60 days and I'll be okay. But if they're coming from another employer, I kind of share with them, they also have 60 days to choose COBRA from their previous, employer. So that gives them an opportunity. If something were to happen, worst case scenario, you're in your waiting period for the 60 days and somebody goes into the hospital or a major health situation might come, they would still be within their window of time to go back from their previous employer and choose COBRA. But these are just good conversations to have. We don't want employees to be surprised about things, you don't want to leave anything out. And so as far as the ORP, 90 days to decide. So if an employee is ORP eligible, they're automatically enrolled in TRS. All employees are automatically enrolled in TRS. But once it's determined that they are ORP eligible, they do have 90 days to choose ORP if they want to make that election. So the benefits, that's nothing you have to do. These are things that we send information to candidates that could be eligible for ORP to give them that option to enroll. And so there's just a lot of information there. But does anybody have anything to say or have their EPAR experience that they want to share, just to kind of drive home this point of what you have experienced with the delays?
I think it's regarding the EPAR, I think especially for like supervisors, like for me, I got hired and then I hired an employee a month later. And so EPAR kept being mentioned, but I really had no idea what EPAR was. So I think maybe like offering this training to us before would be really helpful, like within the first 30 days, especially because like even now, I still really don't know what an EPAR is. I'm trying to hire some more employees. I mean, I know a little bit better now, but I think maybe trying to offer this earlier to managers would be really good because everybody kept saying, well, yeah, is the EPAR done? Is the EPAR done? I was like, I really have no idea what you guys are talking about with the EPAR. So
Right, absolutely. And so thank you for sharing that, Nick. That's so true. And one of the things, so with each area, and you all have HR liaisons, so to speak, that are kind of part of, really it's usually your administrative coordinators or someone in your department that kind of takes this position and they submit the EPARs, you let them know you have a hire and they kind of take care of it. So it's not something that all supervisors are actually doing. Sometimes there's somebody, a designee in their departments that take care of these things. But for you, the supervisor, to just know that it's needed to be done, I think is the big part of that. So thank you, Nick. And like I said, sometimes you're being brought in brand new. There was no transition, you're kind of starting and you're in that position. But we are working on the manager's toolkit. Do you guys all have access to the manager's toolkit right now? Because that is just a great tool for all things management, supervisory, questions, and as well as the trainings about that. Because there's trainings that are required before you can even submit an EPAR or even to be able to do that. And I think KP on the call that she can recall that, because I was messaging her saying, oh, you need to approve this, you need to approve that. But she had not had an opportunity to be set up. So we definitely want to get in front of these things. In red, should be entered on or before the employee's first day of employment. And the I-9, and that's the thing. So there are I-9 coordinators as well. I don't know if all of you know who your I-9 coordinators are for your areas, but there does tend to be I-9 coordinators. And of course, HR, we're available as well if we need to do appointments and things along those lines. Just reaching out to your business partners. But ideally, at least by their first day of employment. And I approve EPARs, and sometimes I see them 1 to 2 weeks after somebody was hired. And so those are just obstacles for our new hires, and we don't want to put any obstacles before them. We can avoid it. And I know you as a supervisor don't want it either, because you need them to have all their accesses and be able to do what they need to do. Okay, so employee leaves. We talk about the total rewards. And so with our leaves that are available, it's important, highly encouraged. We put a lot on you all supervisors. So I just want to say upfront, thank you for your service. Because at the end of the day, it's like supervisor. We have these things that you have these sayings that people don't leave organizations, they leave, they leave people, all of these things. There's just so much pressure that is on you as supervisors. And we're hoping that these trainings equip you with the resources and everything that you have available for yourself as well as your employees. We highly want to encourage a work-life balance. And sometimes, we can talk about that, but talking about it and walking it out, connecting those two is just really important. So we want to encourage work-life balance, and there's leaves available, for our employees. Our employees start to accrue leave on their first day of employment. So for sick leave, employees start accruing unless they are a state transfer and possibly they are bringing leave with them. So direct state transfers, they have the opportunity, if they're coming to us with no breaks in service, they can transfer their existing sick leave and or vacation with them over to us and then the other state agency. But if they're completely new, it's gonna take them a while to build up their accruals, right? To build up their accruals. So for sick leave, they can use their hours as they accrue it. You know, they kind of start off with that 8 hours of sick leave. And those 8 hours are available to them if they have need. There is no waiting period to use the sick leave. But for vacation, unless they, once again, are a direct state transfer, they do have a 6-month waiting period before they can start using their vacation. They'll accrue, but they have to wait 6 months in order to start using that. And I always say it takes time to kind of build up. Like I said, I'm off all next week. This is probably the first time that I've been here going on 2 years that I've even started using my time. Because I wanted my time to build up, you know, and to be able to have that. I know there's situations they use it as they accrue it, those types of things. But this is the parameters for that. So for sick, they can. For vacation, they do have that 6-month waiting period to be able to do that. The other leaves that are available, and we receive, you know, inquiries regarding these things often. But there's a difference between the paid leaves and the unpaid leaves. And so as far as the takeaway on this slide, this part is a big deal. And especially when we talk about FMLA, but some of our paid leaves, we're getting ready to have the paid holidays. We're off next week, vacation, sick, comp time, bereavement leave is available, administrative, jury duty. I just served jury duty this past Monday. Jury duty is covered. I had a question from a department that had a new hire that was put on a major trial that could have lasted 3 to 4 months. As supervisors, you would be like, oh my God, I'm about to lose a person to jury duty for 3 to 4 months, and that can be a lot. But that is a paid leave, and they have every right to use that leave. So these are just things to kind of keep in mind pertaining to that. There's unpaid parental leave, which is also if employee does not meet FMLA, but FMLA is unpaid as well. And that's a disconnect for a lot of employees because we have people who have a situation that they're in an FMLA related event for themselves or their dependents. We're told they have to apply for FMLA. And some of your employees, they don't want to apply for FMLA because they're like, well, I have sick time, or they think that maybe there's an adverse situation that they'll experience depending on the where we are in our life. Historically speaking, sometimes people have thought that taking leave was something that looked bad on their record. If they took FMLA or applied to FMLA, they didn't want it documented that they had to use FMLA. These are the benefits that are available to our employees, and they have every right to apply for these benefits. And as an employer, we are responsible to make sure that they know that these benefits are available to them. It's unpaid, but it is job protection. And they have up to 12 weeks of leave that is available to them that they can take continuously, intermittently, or in a reduced capacity. And so we do have employees that have need from time to time for those benefits. And so please, you don't have to know all the in and outs, but please know who to refer them to. As far as the flexible work arrangement, we're constantly looking at, that policy and those procedures to be able to do that. The flex time is available. We have employees that apply for flex. We realize, and US supervisors know this, all positions are not, available because some of the positions are front facing and there always has to be somebody there. And so it may not be able to accommodate, but where you can accommodate, these are benefits, part of our employees' compensation. If we can accommodate, we want to encourage doing so. The sick leave pool. I think there's a disconnect with sick leave pool. So people think, oh, I can just, if I've exhausted all of my sick leave, I can just go get, apply for sick leave pool and receive that. Sick leave pool is related to a catastrophic situation. In illness or injury for yourself or an immediate family member, that's available. But we do have employees who leave the university because you can't take sick leave with you. Unfortunately, it's not a payable benefit. It's not something that you can take with you unless you're transferring to another state agency. And so they will either donate it to an employee who has a medical need on file. And those are the things to note. They have to have a medical need on file in order to receive donation. We cannot give donation to somebody just, this is my colleague and I just want to give her or him the remainder of my sick leave. If they don't have a medical need, they cannot receive that benefit. The sick leave pool is up to 720 hours. It's a great benefit, and I've had employees who were able to take advantage of that benefit, a loss of, a serious health situation for themselves or their dependent, and not have to worry about pay. So that's really great. Our employees are very generous in sick leave donation because when employees are leaving, we ask them if they would be willing to donate to someone who has a medical need on file. And I love that option as a benefit advisor because the benefit advisors, we're the ones who work the FMLA cases, so we know where the needs are. And to be able to help them, it's awkward for some people to ask for donation. Me personally, I would have a hard time asking somebody to donate to me, right? And so some people are really good, they're extroverts, everybody loves them. They have a need, they're gonna bring the form, they're gonna pass it out, and I'll have them come with like 10 donations and they just receive a lot. But for equitable purposes, we want to assist as much as possible. For supervisors, I want to share this with you because it always comes up. Can a supervisor donate to their employee? It's not a hard no, but it is discouraged. And the reason is if you donate to one employee, are you going to be in a position for equitable purposes to donate to another employee that may have that need? So it's not an absolute, but it's more of an advisor to kind of think about, what happens if you have somebody else that has a need, will you be able to donate to them as well? So those are just some of the leaves that are available there. I talked about the family medical leave in my conversation there. Well, I do want to highlight, sometimes employees are not eligible for FMLA because they should have worked at least 12 months and have 1,250 hours in that past 12 months in order to be FMLA eligible. So we'll oftentimes have a new hire that, maybe they come to us and they're expecting, let's just say, and they're going to be going out on FMLA, but they wouldn't qualify for FMLA because they have not been with us for 12 months and they don't have the 1,250 hours. But if they come directly from another FMLA employer, we let FMLA know that and they could still be eligible, at that time. But in the example that I had shared, if they're not eligible for FMLA, they would be eligible for parental leave. So they would still be eligible for those times. Both of that is unpaid. The challenges is unpaid, so they wouldn't have had time to accrue any leave. And so if they're able to receive sick leave donation along those lines, that could be an option to help them. But sick leave can only be used for sick leave. So those are the things when someone is donating to someone, it has to be, in the example that I said, for example, for maybe a pregnancy or baby bonding, they can't use sick leave for baby bonding. That's not considered a medical need. So they either need to have vacation time or that would be an unpaid leave for them. And that's why we're starting to see a lot of people request intermittent leave because that way it just allows them to take a day or two here, but they can use their leave as they accrue it in order to cover their absences. Okay. Once again, as an employer, we are responsible for notifying employees of their rights under FMLA. We do not determine eligibility. So as much as I'm sharing this information, we still encourage all employees to apply for FMLA. FMLA Source is our third party that handles all of the FMLA type cases. And they are the ones that approve or deny for whatever those reasons are. It comes from FMLA. So as a supervisor, it's not up to you to tell them that they're not eligible. Does that make sense? You don't have to do that. Time reporting. This one is really key, reporting our time with employees, especially regarding the leaves and the disability. Because once someone is, say, FMLA approved, they're gonna enter that time, and there's a box that they have to check saying that they are FMLA eligible, that this is FMLA time. And this is all tracked by the third-party FMLA source. So that information is tracked there in order for their sick and their vacation balances to be accurate. So if someone is taking time off, so often employees kind of do it in hindsight. And so just kind of encouraging if someone's taking time. But I have people that'll put in for vacation for, they know they're going in February and they've already entered their vacation time in. And then all of a sudden something changes and they don't go on vacation or that canceled. So then you have to go in and cancel that request or to change it. So those are things to just keep in mind in real time, as far as them entering that time. It's one thing for them to put on your calendar that they're going to be out or they have something, but if they can enter their time closer to the actual time that they would need it, I think that'll help with reporting. There are also disability retirement options, long-term and short-term disability insurance that's available, you know, for our employees if those situations present themselves. However, the employee has to have chosen short-term and long-term disability for that eligibility. So if those are not benefits that they elected, those would not be benefits that are available, you know, to them. But we are here to kind of guide, you know, through that process. There's coordinators to help, you know, for supervisors, any questions that you have. And we get questions often because supervisors are trying to manage their schedules, manage their time. You need to know when you can expect your employees to be there or when they're going to return or when they're going to be out. I will say this regarding if someone is out on FMLA continuous, we have to respect that time, that they have no obligation to answer emails or to respond or to do any work. So if they're out on FMLA continuous, they need to be out. So that question comes up often. If they're on intermittent basis, even with the intermittent pieces, the medical certifications usually will say what that would look like. They can have up to, I don't know, 3 occurrences lasting up to 1 day. But you can always work with the employees to kind of see what days you can expect them, because it's hard if it's random. You know, I'm just going to call in every Tuesday, but if you knew that their intermittent day was going to happen every other Tuesday or whatever that case might be, I think that would help. And that's perfectly acceptable for a supervisor to have those conversations. When's the last time you guys looked at your paycheck deductions? Nick, have you looked at your paycheck deductions? He's shaking his head. Okay, so in our self-service portal is all of our check stubs and leave accruals and all of those things. For your new hires in particular, or even if an employee kind of comes to you and asks you about something, or they saw a change in their pay, because if this direct deposit, you're just looking at the bottom line. But encourage them to take a look at the paycheck statements, their statements, so that they can actually see the deductions, because they will be outlined for current deductions and year-to-date deductions. And they can see if they're being charged for something that they shouldn't be. I will receive calls from people that had charges for up to 6 months and they didn't know why they had it. One of the ones is those who don't certify that they're non-tobacco users when they sign up for benefits, right? So if they don't sign up and say that they are a non-tobacco user, they're automatically charged an additional $30 per month. And so sometimes they don't know that, but if they're not looking at their check stubs to see, it's like, oh no, that's not right. I should have said, what is this charge that I'm receiving? And unfortunately, we can't go back and retroactively correct those things or give refunds in that particular situation. So new hires in particular, please advise them to, and if you haven't lately, you know, we just had salary adjustments and different things along those lines at Dallas anyway. So, but check your pay stub to see kind of what's going on, see what those deductions are. Sometimes employees that should have been paying into TRS, we find out later that because I'm going to just pause, say this just really quick. For the TRS, if somebody comes to us, or they're working for another employer, and they say you hire a non-student hourly in your department, but they also have a full-time position at another agency. If they are on TRS at that agency, then TRS deductions will come out of their check for us, even if they're not in a benefited situation. So these are just some things to kind of note, and just encourage them to take a look at their checks so that they know for sure. Okay. Benefit costs. So this is part of your bottom line, your budgets, and so you'll see this. So yes, benefits do affect a department's budget, and when you get your budget reports from your team, you probably see the breakdown. But it can be up to this cost here, the $1222.50. That's the maximum, because that's basically the full-time family rate for an employee, because an employee can opt for the full-time full-time plus family and children. This is the rate for that is $1222.50. And so it can be up to 7.65% of a salary for an individual employee. So these do affect your bottom line, budgeted positions, the benefited eligible positions, I should say. And even when you're considering wanting an added position, you do need to account for the benefits, because it does impact. Any questions about that? I got 1 minute. So exiting employees. I won't say a lot about this, but the same way that we want to onboard effectively, we also want to offboard effectively. It's just as important to make it as clean as possible. So if you have an employee that's resigning or retiring, or whatever that case might be, please have them to reach out to a benefit advisor so that we can help navigate that process. We do have one-on-one meetings with our retiree requests. We have employees that are retiring. We meet one-on-one with them. And I'll tell you this about that process. The offboarding is much more, it's a lot into that. It really is almost like onboarding them, offboarding them, talking to them about their retiree insurance and their pensions, and all of that is really important. So please, if you have anyone, refer them to their benefit advisors. Okay, so lastly, this is our contacts. So for each campus, you have a benefit representative, a coordinator that represents all of our campuses. Right now, if you know anyone, we are recruiting for 2 benefit advisors at our UNT Denton campus. So we love referrals, and so there are 2 open positions there. But we all support each other across the campuses. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Our HR benefits email is a great place, because any of us can pick up those questions and respond to them. So any questions or comments from you all?
None. Okay, well, thank you, everybody. Be on the lookout for emails from me. Send me your graduation photos. Please, please, please get that to me. I'll send the survey, of course, afterwards. Please respond to any old surveys that you have not filled out. Please take the time to fill those out. We will not meet again until after Thanksgiving. I believe the day is the 29th. So y'all have a great and safe weekend. Implement all these fun, great things that you've been learning thus far. And yeah, go be great. Bye. Ciao.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you,
Thank
Tina.
you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Crystal.
guys.
Thank
You
you.
guys have a
Karina.
great holiday.
You have a good weekend, everyone.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi, guys.
Ciao, ciao. Bye, Scott. Great job.
Okay. I got through that in that time. I was like, wait, it's 12:01, because you know, clock's
Oh
like
no,
right there.
you did it. It's like she looked down and she's like, all right, I need to go into 5th gear.
And you did it on a Friday when people don't want to be at work, are not in the mood. You know, you did it on a Friday. So
Yeah, next time when you send out that information, we got to know, maybe we need to stop signing up for Fridays.
Right. No
yeah, I
more, no
think
more
I'm gonna-
Fridays.
Yeah, I
No
agree.
more Fridays.
Well, I
I
definitely
agree.
do mornings on Friday. I never do the afternoon on Friday. So
That's
was
also
the-
that's also what I do. I tend not to do, especially if I'm doing in the afternoon, I'm not doing right after lunch.
Right.
I'll do in the morning, Because
Right.
if you come right after lunch, like, oh no, everybody's asleep, like dragging.
I think I'm gonna take Monday and Friday off the table, so people can only do Tuesday through Thursday. Because honestly, I'm not even in the mood. Monday and Friday, I'm just like, that's the beginning and end of my work cycle. So it's
Right.
like my headspace is different.
No, it's true.
Yeah, I know. Good luck with that, with all the meetings on the calendars.
I know, right? But even so, it wasn't bad. It really wasn't bad.
Well, they had
So-
the whole day. They were at work today, so.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So in about a week and a half, I'll send you guys the survey results to give them enough time to respond. I mean, granted, it is only 6 people we're awaiting responses from, so I
Right.
should have it to you sooner. But you guys have a wonderful weekend.
You too. Thank you.
Thank
All right.
you.
Bye, everybody.
Hey, Vanessa, we're expecting raw feedback from you.
True.
Give it to us. Give it to us raw. We'll take it. All
You want me
right.
to give it to you? No.
Yeah, we do, because you don't know. I mean, feedback is the breakfast of champions. It kind of can hurt your feelings, but I had a leader tell me that. And so I try not to shy away from it, because you don't know if people don't say anything.
No, exactly. Because if, like you were saying, Tina, in terms of how even the comp portion is, it's because like Jane and I look back at all the feedback that we've gotten, and that's why we switched it up completely based on that feedback. So no, it's even if it sticks you in the side and you have to you put the band-aid on, and then go back and say, you know what, all right, let me take what I can use from that feedback.
Yeah, for sure. And the virtual world is a different world. I mean, we're getting ready to do a remote remote for all of our remote workers, just an engagement type of a thing with them, because it's a different level of engagement in a virtual realm only, because you can't read body language. You can tell when someone's thinking if they're sitting in front of you. It's like, I think you want to say something, just those dynamics that are there. So
right. And there are always those distractions too, because no matter what, there's always something else that you could be doing. And you can
and we're looking at our computers, or all of our emails and our Teams messages.
That's what I was about to say, that you could see that everybody was doing something else as while on the call. So it's like, when you're in person, you can't do that.
Right. This is true. And it's right in front of your face. So this is on, but so is everything else. So
exactly.
As much as we say do not disturb, of course that's there, but you can still see in the bottom, everything that can
But like I said, all in all, it was good. Thank you. Thank you,
Alrighty.
everyone.
Bye.
How many times are we going to say goodbye?
I know. It's you, Kareem. You keep pulling us back in. Goodbye.
All right. I'll be the one to hit leave. Bye. Gone.
Bye.
No.